Hello and welcome to the Freedom Finances Show. My name's Bradley Valentine. We have Nick Arrington today. It is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. Nick, did you have to wear anything or wear green, or do people still do that at workplaces with St.
I don't know.
Patrick's
They
Day?
don't they don't pinch. That's for sure. Because I did not wear green today and did not get pinched. Is that why your background is green right now? Is
You
for
know
St.
what?
Patrick's Day?
It is not the reason why. So I had my
Oh,
background as red because when I do my Sasquatch talk, I have it red. And Carrie came in. She's like, you should make it green for money. So I changed it. I'm like, how's it look? I didn't even consider it. This is like 10 minutes ago. That's hilarious.
you could have just said yes.
I could have, but it would have been a lie. So,
That's fair. Well, it looks
anyways,
good.
episode 38, green money, St. Patrick's Day. It all has to do with finances. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about gas prices a little bit. But Nick, tell us what's going on in the world of the stock market. Here's a question I have for you. You've taken some money out and waiting for a dip. Is the dip big enough for you to buy in? What are you doing with your money right now?
Yeah. So, ironically enough, I did just go and buy some stock today. I think I bought Wingstop, which I don't know if
Okay.
you've paid attention to them, but they've dropped from like 270 to around 200, and I think they beat earnings back in February. And I saw this thing that was like, a lot of times when stocks dip, it's like it's an overreaction, and I feel like maybe with Wingstop there could be a little bit of an overreaction, and so I feel like their price is really good. If you've ever been to a Wingstop lately, the line's out the door, and it takes
Huh.
40 minutes to get your food because there's so many orders. So I don't know. I feel like it's a good
Yeah.
price, so I went and bought some of them. Obviously, I'm a big Vu fan, so I bought some there too.
Nice, nice.
But yes, I'm not like going and putting everything into stocks, but I'm slowly buying some that I feel like are a good deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm starting to buy a little bit.
Okay. When you say a little bit of Wingstop, like a grand, 500 bucks, 2 grand?
What did I get? Wingstop, maybe like a grand, I think is what I
Okay.
threw into there.
Okay.
Something
Gotcha.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I don't really have any extra money. All my money's invested. I'm pretty much really tight right now, like where I have everything.
Are
Um,
you down right now?
I'm down like from a month ago, but I mean, that's because the stock market is kind of overall down. But yeah, why?
I'm just like how from where it was at its peak, like probably a
Okay,
month or two ago. What
okay,
percentage are you down?
yeah. Let me pull it up because let's see, because the let's see, S&P was up to like 7 grand, 7K, right? And now it's
Okay.
at 60, almost 68. So I am down over the last month. Um, uh, it's not even a full month. It's really the last 3 weeks that I'm
Yeah.
down because it basically right. I'm pulling up my calculator. Right when we bombed Iran, my stock went down.
Oh,
Yeah,
stocks bombed when Iran got bombed. Okay.
exactly. I'm down like 4%. So nothing crazy.
Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah. And honestly, it was like super high a month ago. I don't know if you watched the Pam Bondi in front of the Senate, and they were talking to her about the Epstein files, and like grilling her, and she's like, "The S&P and Dow Jones are at record high, and you're talking to me about this." So that was right before we bombed Iran. If you notice, we're
Oh,
not really talking about Jeffrey Epstein anymore, So
I noticed that. Yeah.
do you think it's like, okay, shit, they got us on this Jeffrey Epstein stuff. What are we
Let's
gonna
go
do,
bomb Iran.
Mr. President?
Yeah. Oh my God.
um,
I hope not.
all right, here's my perspective, and I wrote an article on Freedom Finances talking about uh, Iran and like the state of gas prices. And I actually put a chart on there which shows gas prices from 1950 to about 2003. And this is from the US Department of Energy. So in 1950, people were paying about 27 cents a gallon of gas. So the cool thing is, like, man, imagine if you lived 76 years ago, you're only paying 27 cents a gallon of gas. But with inflation, that's about $3.75 a gas or a gallon of gas. I keep saying a gas
For one gas.
for one gas. As of yesterday, and I think it's gone up, the average was $3.71 per gallon of gas. So technically, gas is cheaper now than it was 75 years ago. I guess my question is, I know you drive a Tesla, so you don't care. Do you think that people should be afraid when it comes to things like inelastic gasoline? And it's inelastic because, except for people like you, we have to get gas regardless, right? It doesn't matter the price.
Yeah, I think people that are worried about the gas prices are probably worried about the wrong stuff because I don't think, I mean, I remember what was it? Maybe 2007, right around when I was graduating from high school.
Yeah.
Gas prices were like $7 a gallon or something like stupid
Yeah.
crazy. And so I don't know of anything else besides maybe like TVs that have gone down in price in like over the last like 20 years. And so when I look at gas prices, even not adjusting for inflation, I feel like they've stayed in a decent level.
Right.
I feel like if like they should probably be more expensive if you look at like everything else, you
Yeah.
know? And so I don't think it's like, hey, I'm worried about the price to fill up my tank. I don't think that's the thing to worry about. I think the thing to worry about is like industries that rely on it, like transportation and different things like that. And like that impacting the stock market negatively, you know, like supply chain and stuff like that. Like that's where I
Right.
think the real concern comes from. And you know what? I think, yeah, there is a realistic like concern there. But it's like nothing's actually happened yet, right? Everything that's priced into the market, even the drop, it's just anticipation.
Yeah.
Where you know, but like the supply chain for what has not technically been disrupted yet, right? Like it's just a fear of it happening, and
Yeah. So, okay, so there is a little bit going on with the supply chain, especially the last probably 5 days or so. But gas started going up right when we bombed Iran, like right away. But
well,
with
yes, but because of the anticipation, right? Like it
yes,
wasn't because
no,
there
you're
was an
right.
actual.
You're right. Like as of probably 5 days ago, because I think it was Friday when I was looking up gas prices, there were no real supply chain issues. But here's the thing. So there's the Strait of Hormuz that Iran kind of controls, and 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's a really big percentage. However, we only get in the US probably 10% or so of that oil from the Strait of Hormuz. So, I mean, we get 10% of 20%. That's a pretty small percentage. We get a lot of our oil from Russia, Ukraine, Venezuela, and we have our own oil reserves in Alaska, Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, sorry. But so to your point, yeah, a lot of the supply chain that we get hasn't been that disrupted. So you're long story short, you're pretty right. You're kind of right.
Is it messed up that they can just raise gas prices like that because something might happen? It reminds me of tariffs,
Yeah.
where tariffs, so everything goes up, but it's like you're not impacted by tariffs. Why? What?
Right.
How is this? And then they never go back down. Is this like the ploy to get gas prices back up and they never come back down?
You know, I do think it is kind of messed up. I do, however, think that gas prices will come down because in 2022 there was a record high of gas prices, the highest it's ever been per gallon in the United States at $5.02. This is the US average. It's never gone higher than that at the US average. Probably a month ago, I was paying like 179 at Sam's Club. Now, Sam's Club is discounted gas, right? So it's usually 20 to 40 cents cheaper. So people are paying less, like close to $2, maybe 2.50 for gas. So it does go down is the thing, to answer your question.
So why does gas go down? Because it's not like supply and demand, right? Like, so what actually makes the price of gas go down? I feel like it's just this random number that they pick out of a hat.
It
I mean, obviously it's not. It's the price of oil and per barrel. I get that, but like,
yeah,
they could, if it was just regular capitalism, you could just charge what people are willing to pay,
right.
and people will probably would pay more. I bet you if gas was $6 a gallon right now, people are still going to fill it because they don't have a choice.
Yes.
What stops that from happening? Like, why don't they charge more if they can get away with it?
I do think that there is some sort of supply chain that you're not considering, because you like in the late 1970s, gas skyrocketed to what was it, like dollar, a couple bucks, $1.50 per gallon in 1978.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like a lot, but then that's the equivalent of over $7 per gallon, right? Again, what was the issue? Iran. Literally, the Iranian revolution in 1978. But supply chains were really disrupted a lot. Like, we got a lot of oil from the Middle East then. And in the US, we get a lot of oil from ourselves. And I think a big thing that's part of it is like politics plays such a big deal. You know, depending on who's in office, one person wants to drill, the other person doesn't. And it really disrupts prices. I see what you're saying. Like, we could make unlimited profits. And I guess I don't know the full answer is like, why not? Right? Like if it's a monopoly in a sense, like it's inelastic, we could charge whatever we want. And I don't know the exact answer, but I do know that you are discounting supply a little bit, because we break into reserves in the US when gas goes up, right? We're trying to figure things out in the Strait of Hormuz.
I guess my question is not necessarily what makes it go up, but like, why would it go back down? Because like, if I was McDonald's and I wanted to test out a new price market for a sandwich, and like, I would go as high as people stop buying it, you know? And so I don't think gas prices go down because people are like, oh, gas is too expensive, I'm not going to buy it. And so it doesn't have that typical supply and demand kind of impact on price, you know?
I think what you're saying is it's not the supply, but it's the demand. Like, the equilibrium price is probably a lot higher than $3, $4, $5 per gallon.
Yeah.
The equilibrium price is probably closer to $8 per gallon.
Is there an equal, like, are people going to stop buying gas at any price?
I guess you're right. What's the price in which we would be like, okay, we can't buy gas anymore, you know? Like,
did you see the episode of Futurama where it's Al Gore and he's like, here's $100. He's like, that can buy me 1 gallon of gas.
That's hilarious. No, but what's that movie with Will Smith and the dog and the zombies?
Oh, I Am Legend.
Yeah. Okay. There is a scene in the movie when like everyone's freaking out and they're taking off in helicopters, and you see the gas station, and it's like post-apocalyptic prices, and gas is like $6 per gallon. And it's like, oh, I've paid $6 per gallon for gas.
Yeah,
and it's not the apocalypse.
It's not that crazy.
Like, whoops.
Yeah, whoops.
You know what? It's a good question, and I feel like I don't know. You know, like, I know that supply helps with the price, but you're right. Like, demand is infinitely high, it feels like, with gasoline.
Yeah, I don't think demand changes that much. It's just supply that I feel like changes. I mean, demand's got to stay fairly constant, no matter what.
I don't know. That's a good question, and you've stumped me, and you know, whatever. Now I'm only thinking about supply. And it's funny, in my Sasquatch Talk podcast today, one of the other owners of Sasquatch, he was saying like, yeah, but it's not as inelastic as you think, because we brought it up because we were talking about plastic and recycling and petroleum. And I'm like, no, it is. Like, if gas is $5 or $6, you still have to get to work, you know? Like, when gas was $6, like, yes, it will go down a little bit, right? People will go on less vacations, but you still have to go to work. 95% of people drive to work with their gas cars or take a bus, which uses gas. There's some people like me who work at home, and there's some people like you who drive an electric car. So let me ask you this. How much are you paying the equivalent of? Have you checked that? Like, I know you don't pay gas, but do you know what the equivalent of what you're paying is?
Yes and no. So when you buy an electric vehicle, they tell you what their like gas equivalent is, miles per gallon.
Right.
And I think it's just the equation of kilowatts to miles per gallon gas and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And I think mine was like 130 miles to the gallon is basically what the equivalent is.
Yeah. Okay. That's
So
pretty
it,
good.
yeah,
That's
it's not bad.
that's about 8 times better than mine that
Yeah,
my
you know.
23 miles per gallon gets. But how much do you pay for electricity, you know?
Um, It's so weird because it depends on where you charge. If I'm
Right.
doing a supercharger, it might cost me $20 to completely charge up my car from
Right.
zero.
Yeah.
I did the math, and I think it was what 60%, 60 to 80% charge costs about $5, and I get about my range is about 350 on a full charge, so maybe like 300 miles. It cost me like $5.
Okay. But yeah, and if I understand correctly with what I've seen is like you most of the time you probably don't want to charge at least on superchargers that 75 to 80 and up because it takes longer, it's more expensive, you have to wait around, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, here's another question I have for you. And think of this from like a demand standpoint and I
Yeah.
guess a supply standpoint. When do you think your electric car is going to overtake the combustion engine? Like a battery and a turbine or whatever, like versus an electric engine, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to say because I was a huge like just regular car guy, and I love the big engines and like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. And it's funny, the things that I was worried about getting into electric car are just like silly things to be worried about. And I think a lot of people have those same worries. They have what is it? The range fear, I think is one of the
Yeah.
things. Like even people that ask me, they're like, oh, but what isn't this weird? Aren't you worried about that? And it's like after driving it, it's like, no, it's not. None
Right.
of those things are real concerns. And I think if people truly understood that, there'd probably be a quicker adoption. And that's why I'm surprised there's not more like education about electric cars, because there's still a lot of people that are like, what happens if your car just dies? Like there's so much technology built into it. Your car would only die if you were a complete idiot and like you were trying to make it die. Like you can't like it if you're trying to go anywhere, it's like, hey, you're not going to make it. Like here are charging stations. Here's 10 in the next like 10 miles,
Right. Yeah.
and you can plug it into a wall. You know what I mean? Like you can plug it into a regular little like vacuum prong outlet. You don't
Yeah.
even like slow, yes, but you can do these different things. And like I don't know. I think if people knew about it more, it would be much faster. But I'd say in the next 5 to 10 years, it's got to be a shift. We got to go from where we are today to maybe like 50% or more market share of electric vehicles would be my guess.
So I kind of agree that the consumer is willing to jump into it once they find out more about it because I was kind of that person too. Like I don't want to deal with this. Like it's just a bunch of like ideological propaganda to stop me to get using fossil fuels. And then the last like 5 years I'm like I want a Tesla, I want to plug in my car, I want it to drive me around. And I think infrastructure is one thing that people worry about, right? There's a gas station everywhere you go, but people don't
Sure.
know that there's electric chargers, all around either. But here's what I think is the problem. When President Trump stopped the $7,500 tax credit, a bunch of places like big car manufacturers, GMC, Ford, they paused or slowed down severely their EV production because no one's buying them, Like they're having a hard time of turning that technology into a profit. And I think that's where I think once we get this technology to be cheaper, and you talked about like TVs have gone down, right? Like you could get a
Yeah.
4K TV 10 years ago for like it was like 8, 9 grand, right? Now you can
Hmm.
get a
Yep.
4K TV from freaking Walmart for $300, you know? So the
Good
question
old
is,
Hisense, right?
what?
Good old Hisense
Oh
TVs,
yeah.
right?
And you could get it for dirt cheap. So the question is like,
Mhm.
when does the technology become profitable for a company? Because there's no reason, like if I'm making cars and people aren't buying EVs and they're buying even less now that the tax credit is gone, there's no reason for me to keep making the cars. That's my perspective. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if any other car makers do they have a subscription model for the self-driving?
No, I mean, no one really has self-driving the way Tesla does.
I think that's because Tesla they have the subscription model for self-driving. They
Hmm.
have the subscription model for connectivity.
Yeah.
They also have the Tesla superchargers, and so they're making money post-sale too.
Yes.
And so like maybe other companies don't have those things, and that's why it's not as profitable. I don't know what the profit margin is on the car themselves,
Sure.
but like there's recurring revenue past that, and I guarantee you, once they get this full self-driving unsupervised launched, it's going to go from $100 a month to 150 to $200 a month, and people will pay that in a heartbeat to be able to text and drive legally.
I would.
Yeah,
I would pay once I'm like can afford to like move out of my car and into this other car, like I'm there, you know. I'm paying
yeah.
the subscription or whatever, you know, the $100 a month.
Hmm.
I'm ready to go. Here's the thing though, like I look at this up every few months, like where's Honda at? Where's Ford at? Where's Chevy at with their self-driving? And all they are like, yeah, we have lane assist, you know, or like adaptive cruise control where if someone's in front of you, your car will slow down a little. But if you're veering off, it'll try to keep you in the lane, but you have to hold it. That's nothing compared to what you have.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think there's got to be some sort of either they have to create their own technology, which maybe that's just too expensive. I think Waymo's the only other company that's doing anything like close to Tesla.
Yeah,
But maybe they lease it or something. You know what I mean? And maybe there can be some sort of a split on the technology, and that way they don't have to create it themselves. But
yeah,
there's got to be something different because
yeah,
that's where I think Tesla is making its money is on the subscription models and all the extra little things that they have past the sale.
sure.
I'm sure they make money on the cars too, but
Yeah, I mean, sales is part of it, but what you get with the sales is another part. But all
yeah.
right, that's gas cars. Let's talk about how this is affecting the stock market. So I know we kind of went into like it's down 4 or 5% or whatever over the last month. I guess my question to you is like, you asked me like, well, why don't they just keep gas up? Or like supply isn't that broken, so why are gas prices up? Why do why does the stock market go down when we bomb Iran? Like what does one have to do with the other? What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that like fear and greed index.
Oh,
When you've got, we've been greedy for so long, right? And so the stock market gets overpriced, and then I think we're overly sensitive to these types of triggers. And so when it happens, it's like, oh dang, let me take my profits now,
yeah,
and I'm worried, so let me protect my capital. And so more people want to sell, and that causes the stock market to drop. So it's not because something happened, it's because we're worried something's going to happen. Like the Wingstop thing, man. Like they're at 270, and people are worried because some analysts say, well, we think the food industry might be in trouble. And so it's not that they've reported bad earnings, it's just that people think that this might happen. And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess. You keep selling it, and then it does go down. But it's not because of any technical or anything like that. It's just people are fearful, and they don't want to lose their money, so they want to sell more.
so you think that it's all about just, I mean, it's still supply and demand. That's what drives the stock market. But you think it's just like, I mean, who though? Like, because the majority of the trading done in the stock market isn't you and me or the people listening to this podcast, right? Like, it's people in
Sure.
big offices and banks and things like that. Like, what do you think they're thinking? Do you think it's the same
I
thing?
think that yes, I do, but I think it's that they're thinking what like it's funny because I think what they're thinking is what is everybody else going to do with this information?
Mm,
And I need to be the first one to do it so that I don't get left holding the bag. And
yeah.
so I think these big companies are thinking, hey, we have to return value to, our customers, the people
Right.
we're investing money, because we're brokers and things like that.
Yeah.
And I lose money if I don't make them a certain percentage. So let me lock in those profits because I think everybody else is going to do this. And so when everybody thinks that the other person is going to do it, then I think, yeah, you do have all these companies that are like, we've got to be first.
The first thing I had in my head is, did you ever watch The Office? Do you
Yeah.
remember the episode when they're all holding guns to each other? They're like
Oh,
playing
and then
it.
they pull them back
Like, I
up.
didn't do that. I was thinking that, but everyone's actually kind of holding a gun to their own head, being like, "Are you gonna shoot
Yeah,
first? Am I gonna shoot first? Like, who's shooting first? You know?"
it really is, man. Like, it's crazy. If everybody just said no, we'll just like hang tight, we wouldn't see the market dip like that.
Yeah.
But
It's like, I guess my thought is like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it matters for some people, right? Like people who are living off of their stock market funds. It's gonna go back, just like gasoline. Like, the gas prices are gonna go back, but it kind of like
so
doesn't.
what do you mean it doesn't matter? What because like it doesn't matter because it's going to go back up
Yes,
eventually?
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I think that if you, I don't know if you've been to like my wife recently changed the like investment stuff to a new brokerage firm, and like the whole process is weird because they're basically trying to sell you on why they can give you better returns than the market. And I think we're seeing this place where like if you just invest in like an S&P 500 index, you're going to get relatively good returns. And I think you have an industry of brokers who are just trying to do whatever they can to prove that they can beat the market so they can stay having the job. I
Right.
feel like we're in a transition where in 5 years from now, do we need brokers? Are they just trying to like cling on to whatever hope of like, oh, I can get you 2% more than what the market can. But
Yeah.
like,
If like, let's say high school, everyone had to take finance,
mhm.
the answer would be no, we wouldn't need brokers, right? But here's the thing, do people who don't think about this, like, most people probably don't know what an ETF is, right? Or a mutual fund.
Sure.
We do because we talk about it all the time. And we're like, yeah, we don't need to pay a broker, we like a whole brokerage for, to put our stuff and stuff. Like, we can just look it up on like finance.yahoo.com, type in VOO. Okay, I'm good. I know what to do, right? We don't
Yeah.
need to look any of that crap up, or we don't need anyone to help us out. Like, the people from Fidelity call me all the time. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be like, well, I went to finance school, but like, what are you going to do, Like, are you going to squeeze out another 1%, but I'm paying you? Like, how much of that 1% am I paying you back? So,
Probably all of it.
yeah. That's one thing. I don't know if you remember this, but that's one thing every finance class that I had was like, no one can beat the market, because if you're beating the market, you're paying money to beat the market. And then if you're paying money to beat the market, you're not really beating the market, right? You're spending money somewhere.
Well, there's nothing that proves that you make any more money with a professional broker than just investing in an S&P 500 index. Like,
Yeah.
it's if you look at it, like there's some funds or whatever tactics that have, but overall for all of them, it's like there's just as many losers as there are winners.
Right.
You might as well just save the fees and just invest it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm hoping like AI gets rid of two professions, and I'm sorry, but tax preparers and brokers,
Huh.
like it's just not needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can automate all of these things. And I don't know. I feel like they're just maybe a dying industry trying to hang on to every dollar that they can. But it causes things like this to mess with the market and get
Yeah.
people scared.
Yeah.
And then like that impacts people's livelihoods,
I will say maybe it's a good thing, because like when they screw everything up, we can
Get it on sale.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Sure.
Like, all right, you screwed
big
up
up-
for a little bit. I'm good. I'm not gonna use this money for 30 years. I guess I'll get some extra stuff on that's cheap.
Yeah, I'm gonna get wing stuff on the cheap.
Yeah. Okay, you said AI. have you asked Chat GPT if you're close to a car wash? Like I typed in Chat GPT. I'm like, a 30-second walk away from the car wash and it's really nice outside and I need the exercise. Should I walk or drive my car? And it said I should walk because it could be faster. There's no reason to start your car. And it's like, they don't like chat. We're pretty far off. And it's funny because you still see things like Chat GPT 5.2 is like better than a graduate student, or Grok is smarter than like a PhD, and they can't figure out that you need your car at the car wash to wash your car.
It it is funny because I don't know if people really fully understand like what Chat GPT is,
Yeah,
but it's basically that like core. It's a predictive text model. You know
right.
what I mean? Like the same thing when you go to search in Google and you're like, how to tie my, and then it types in shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's just predicting what the next word in the sentence should be based off of tons of data. But like, yeah, it's not like I don't know how to say it's not actual intelligence. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just
That's
predicting
how
the
I
next.
use it. I use it like an advanced Google search, you know?
Yeah.
Like today okay, so funny story. I use my shoes until they die essentially, right? Like they're literally falling apart. The soles are coming off. Um and I was at church like a month or two ago and I had my leg crossed and like the sole of the back of my foot was facing someone behind me, and afterwards he was giving Carrie crap. He's like, you need to buy your husband new shoes because they're just flat. um, and he was right. I didn't think about it, but I had been slipping and I slipped shoveling snow, and I'm like, dang, I need new shoes, but I'm cheap and I'm like, I don't want to buy new shoes. They're good other than the bottom. And so I used Chat GPT or Grok or something like, how much does a cobbler cost? I don't know. Have you ever used a cobbler in your life?
Like from the
Yes.
1920s. Like what do we?
Yeah. Like I've never in my life used one. And but I'm thinking like, okay, could I save, I don't know, a new pair of shoes that I want are probably like $60, right? I was
Mhm.
like, how much money could I save by getting someone to just replace the soles? Well, anyways, that's what I used it for. And based on my research, I would probably spend more money having someone fix them than just getting a new pair of shoes. But that's my that's my story of using it like
I'm
advanced Google search, you know?
I'm glad ChatGPT is changing lives over here.
Basically, if you have a Google question, you can just do that instead. That's how I use it. But also more finance, we're here to help you with finance tips. You don't really need a cobbler in your life unless you have really expensive shoes that you need repaired. So I don't know. I don't have expensive shoes. So that's my story. Just in case
And
you're
I didn't
wondering.
even know cobblers still existed.
They do. I literally looked them up in Colorado Springs, and there's like four of them. So they're still out there. But it would be like probably $75 to replace the soles of my shoes.
To replace the $60 pair of shoes sole.
Yes. Like I like, do I get anything out of this or just a new sole? And I guess it makes sense because they have to like peel it apart, scrape it, like glue it, use their
How do they
materials.
stay in business with those prices?
I literally have no idea. I guess just fancy shoes. Like people who pay
Okay.
$500
I
for shoes.
I will say I don't think it was a cobbler, but I went to a leather worker because I had a pair of Doc Martens that I needed a new. I don't know, it needed something,
Uh-huh.
and he fixed it, and it wasn't super expensive or anything like that. And I think my sole ripped a little bit, and he used like some plastic like welding to put it back together.
Hmm.
And so maybe that's like what a cobbler is now, and I
Yeah.
just didn't realize it. But yes, I did use
Huh.
them, and they were like a pair of Jordans, so they were nicer shoes, and I wanted to keep. But
How much did you spend?
man, I don't think it was much. I want to say there was at least two pairs of shoes, and maybe it was like 60 or $70 between both of them.
Okay. How much were those shoes?
I don't know. The Jordans were probably 130, Maybe
Okay.
something similar for the Doc Martens.
Okay. And how long ago was it?
Okay, this it was probably a couple years ago. I lose track of time
Okay.
sometimes.
Well,
It may have
that's
been
on like
pre-COVID. I don't know.
that's my thing is like my those shoes, and like Carrie's literally going to get me those shoes right now because I started looking on Amazon like do it yourself replacement stuff, and she's like, no, I'll just get you new shoes. But those shoes are literally like $65. It'll probably cost like $60 to fix them. There's no point in
What
doing
are
it.
you wanting to do? You just want tread on the bottom?
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you do like they do with like when they do tires again? Like can't you just carve some tread
So
into the bottom?
I did look into it, and you can do that. You can
Yes.
also buy like tread replacement or non-slip replacement for your shoes on Amazon. And I was like, Carrie, look, like I'm just gonna do this. They're like $8. And she said, no, we're not doing that. Like, I guess she thought it was too ghetto or something. So she literally bought me the shoes. So she took it out of my
Oh,
hands. I was gonna spend anywhere from $0 to $8 to fix these shoes. She took care of it for me. So
these shoes are like 15 years old or something.
yeah, I'd say they're like 5 years old, and
5 years.
that doesn't sound that old, but like they're the main shoes I wear every day when I go outside. You know, like
That's fair.
I wear the same shoes all the time. Okay, I don't know how we got into that.
I
AI,
don't know. Oh yeah, yes.
stock
AI.
market. Okay, where were we? Let's go back a little bit. My question for you, let's go back to Iran. My question to you is, you talked about like the mentality of the broker, right? Or even us.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I don't know, do you think that the war has to end? If the war ends, do you think the stock market will skyrocket? Or does it have to end for the stock market to start going back up? What are the consequences of the length of this war?
Yeah, so I was looking into that a little bit, and if it continues, there could be like long-term stock market instability, right?
Yeah.
But if it is a relatively short skirmish or whatever you want to call it, stock prices should rebound relatively quickly. And so
Yeah.
that it just really depends on the amount of time, because the longer it happens, the more likely there is to be stock or supply chain issues, and the more scared people are going to get. And I think if something actually happens that starts impacting it, then we'll see even broader market drops. But I don't think it's going to be the entire market. I think it's going to be sector specific. Like I think transportation, airlines, like different things like that are
Yeah.
probably going to be hit harder. But like look at ExxonMobil. Like they've jumped up
Oh, have
quite a
they?
bit. So I think like, oh yeah, they've jumped up. What is that? 40% maybe,
Oh,
something like
wow.
that. Like, and so I think there are some industries that will be positively impacted.
Yeah.
So oil and gas industries will
Yeah.
probably be looking pretty good because they can charge more for their product. Which then it goes back to like, is there really a supply issue? Because that stock should go up because profits are going up.
Right.
And profits don't go up just because you have a supply issue and you charge more because of that. They go up because you're increasing your prices over what your costs are.
Right.
So I don't know, do with that what you will, but
You know, that's interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, we get a lot of our lithium for batteries and a lot of our rare earth metals from the Middle East. I think Afghanistan is a country where we get a lot of our rare earth metals, in Northern Africa too. Side note, if you feel like you're saving the world driving a electric car,
oh no.
you're not. Yeah.
Save the world. I love the world, but that's not why I got an
Right.
electric car. I did it purely for financial.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about like, hey, when does everybody shift to electric cars? Every gas station will need to be converted into like an energy plant. Because if you go to a Tesla supercharger and there's more than like 4 people charging, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And so imagine everybody there, like you're going to need to be building your own energy right there, using the same gas to just make energy. So it's
The
definitely
gas
not.
is pumping.
Yeah,
That would be
basically.
hilarious. That is
That's exactly what
hilarious.
you need.
It's just a generator, a gas.
Yeah, pumping gas from their tank. You got one dude pumping it full of gas and making energy for everybody.
That's awesome. But also, like, where we get these rare earth metals, it's not like some strong Americans making 25 bucks an hour are mining these, you know? It's like third world people making $1 an hour in mines, pulling gold and lithium out for us to use on our watches, on our cars, on our batteries, and our phones. So if you think you're saving the world, I hate to break it to you, you're not. You know, like, yeah, no fossil fuels, but you are kind
No.
of. But I guess my
Yeah.
point is going back to all that supply issues, do you think it could have like a long-term impact on our change in technology, electric cars? Because a lot of that stuff, that rare earth metal, comes from the Middle East, like that Eastern European, Western Asian, you know, we got the Ukrainian and Russian war still going on. Do you think that will have an impact?
No, and I'll tell you why. I don't know, man. It feels like we have such a short attention span when it comes to anything. Remember when we were talking about tariffs and we're like, this is going to cause companies to operate differently and bring things closer to the U.S. and like, well, it didn't do any of that because it didn't last long enough. Like,
Yeah.
yes, if this lasted for a super long time and it could force people to, change technology, maybe even push more electric vehicles or push less dependence on fossil fuels and different things like that. But like, no, 6 months from now, we're going to be talking about the next thing. We're going to have forgotten and be like, hey,
Yeah.
remember that time we bombed Iran? Like, I just don't think if something new comes up every single time. I don't
Yeah.
think this will change anything. I think we'll see some short-term impacts. If it lasts longer, I think we'll see some stock market impacts, but I don't think it changes really like the technology or,
Yeah.
how we're consuming things or anything like that. I really don't.
Okay.
What about you? Do you?
Well, I think about like the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and gas prices took. It wasn't until like 1984 or 1985 when things started calming down, and like the Iranian Revolution was essentially like the Ayatollah taking over, right? Like the Persian place, like the Persian countries like were very modern, and then the Ayatollah kind of took over and turned it into like a religious country, and it kind of got thrown apart for a few years, and it messed things up for like 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if this is the equivalent of that, right? Like we already bombed Iran a year ago, right? Or what was that? Like was that September of last year when we bombed them to stop their nuclear thing?
Did
Um,
anything happen with the stock market then?
I think gas went up for like 2 weeks and then went straight back down. I think the stock market went like boop, you know. Um, but it all went back to normal. So I don't know. I think about like just like that area of the world is so important to like keeping things running. And I think like, is it really gonna? I don't know how it would impact the American companies on the S&P 500. Is what I think about, right? You know, like other than oil, like how is it really impacting us? So maybe not. I guess you're right. I don't know. I guess you're right. Okay, so last question of the day, and then we'll start to wrap it up here. Where do you think we'll shift any new investments in the next few months in your stock market, or do you think we should just leave it alone? You, me, the people listening, like should you make any short-term changes, long-term changes, yearly changes based on everything?
Um, Yeah, so I think it depends. I think you're a buy and hold forever guy. And so I think for your portfolio, you don't really change much. You continue to invest like normal. If you're doing monthly investments or whatever, you follow the same path. I think my trading philosophy is a little bit different, and I like to buy the dip a little bit. And so I do think this is a good opportunity for buying that. I think but I'm not like recommending go all in, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm sitting at a pretty big cash reserve comparative to my investments, and so like I'm not going to put all of that cash into it because it could continue to go down, and I want to be able to buy as it continues to go down. And so yeah, I do think right now is a good opportunity to buy some, but just understand what percentage of your portfolio you want to invest in it. I think
Yeah.
conservative things, ETFs, VU, S&P 500 indexes, stuff like that. But yeah, I think if you've got some cash reserves, good time to pick up some stocks on the cheap. It was funny too. I saw something that was like if you invested at the peak of the market for each like year, how long it would take you to like recover.
Ooh,
And
that's
some of them
good.
were like 7 or 8 years, but it said like, but that's only if you bought at the peak and never bought again. If you did
Oh,
dollar cost averaging as it continued to go down, the act like it was instead of 8 years, it would take you like 2 years to a
huh.
broke even and things like that. And so I think it's important, like as it goes down, like continue to buy and leave yourself cash to do that because if you do have to wait it out, you'll have a lot less
Yeah.
time that you have to wait if you've done that because you buy at the peak sometimes. You know what I mean? If you bought a month ago, you bought at the peak, and if it continues to go down, like continue to dollar cost average, buy more shares, and you'll ride it out. Even if it
Yeah.
continues to drop, stop buying. So yes, this is a good buying opportunity, but there could be more buying opportunities, and I'd say I'd be sitting back and kind of waiting for some of those too.
You
But
know,
take advantage of this one.
I think you put it really well when you said like extra cash. Like I don't have a lot of extra cash in my portfolio because it's all invested. It's not invested in anything crazy. It's invested in buy and hold, right? So I think that
Yep.
that could be like I do make small tweaks here and there, right? I don't jump on memes, but like I think like maybe putting some dividends into cash, right, in my IRA could be useful so that way when there is, a little blip like there is now, I could use that cash and buy. So I think that's even for someone like me who's almost religiously buy and hold, like maybe having some extra cash reserves could be useful. We're learning
Yeah.
all the time. You're smart, Nick. All right, tariffs. Where are we at? What's up with tariffs, Nick?
Do they exist anymore? I think we cured those like we did COVID, right? Like we fixed the tariff. That's the
The Supreme Court essentially said the president can't make his own tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Act, EPA or whatever, Protection Act. So essentially, they said you can't do tariffs the way you are doing them. So he did tariffs differently, which are like a temporary, I think, 135-day tariff. And
okay.
so he kind of put them back, and then the court, I think, said that we have to refund countries for their tariffs, which, gosh, can you please not have us give a refund back? That's ridiculous. So that's where we're at. Like, and I was thinking about this earlier. Like with Sasquatch Gun Oil, we make our own oil, but we buy plastic products. And we bought products from China, literally from China. They put it on a boat, they shipped it to us, and it took like 6 to 8 weeks to get to us. And guess what? Those they sucked and they were wrong. And do you know it's not easy to call China and be like, hey, this 8-cent bottle you gave me is wrong. And so yes, we buy American now. It's more expensive, but it's better. It works better. We get our product within a few days. We don't have to wait for it to go on the boat. And I think about like tariffs, and I don't know if like I'm as a business owner who sells stuff, I see all these things about like local toy seller is worried that they'll be out of business because they buy cheap toys from China, and I'm like, I don't know. So tariffs, who
Maybe don't
knows?
do that.
If they catch us talking about tariffs, the stock market will go down. So we should probably stop
Yeah.
talking about it. All right, cue the music. That was episode 38. It is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. That's all we got for you. Adios.
Hey,